So funny thing happened. Maybe not so funny, but hey, I'm glad I caught it. Yeah, I started recording and I've recorded for 25 minutes and none of it was actually recording. My voice was, but the video wasn't. So I just reloaded. Basically, I came to this planet, which I did the whatchamacallit, the little ship that was sending a distress signal. There were husks all over it. There was nothing there. I just killed the husks and it was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. That's all it was. Like, there's husks and there was an artifact on the ship. So I did that. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. The only thing you did miss is that the way that the ship looked was really cool. It was kind of spooky. And that led me into a conversation about spookiness. We'll get to that. Now, the thing is, I came to this planet in this other system. So out of the 3 systems in this cluster, I went to the 3rd system, which is the last one that we hadn't seen. There's a distress signal coming from this planet. Not going to spoil what's going on here, but I came here, did all this stuff, drove around, talked a bunch of nonsense for 25 minutes, and then I realized, I'm not actually recording. So that is where we're picking up from. Again, I've already done all this. I've done it. We're done. Everything is done. We're just going to redo this planet. That's kind of annoying, but you know what? I am glad that I caught that ahead of time because, or not ahead of time at all, I guess. I'm just glad that I caught that before everything got way too bad. Although I didn't come this way before, there are Thorian creepers here. Interesting. Okay then. Is that a facility I can go into? It doesn't look like there's anything to scan. You know, I rarely have, I make a video, or I upload a video every single day. Doesn't necessarily mean I make one every day. Sometimes I make a couple ahead of time. Yeah, I don't have to explain that. It's pretty obvious. But my point is, I don't often have this weird thing happen where I am like not recording, even though I'm meaning to. But every now and again, it does happen. It's really annoying. It's really annoying. So what'd you miss out on? Everything is probably like the best episode I've ever recorded. It's such good content right there. I'm not going to make this, am I? Ooh, that was close. This one's an easy decryption. It better be. After that, no. The thing is, the mouse also moves it. Oh my goodness. So if the mouse is like even slightly moved at any given point, it just throws the little thing all over the place. Really annoying. But I should just basically take my hand off the mouse. Maybe that would help. Okay. We have a lot of stuff here. Let's go to the anomaly first. Oh, we have some rocks up here. But is it really that worth it? No. I've already decided that I'm not getting enough of those, because here's what happened. I came to this planet and started doing the mission here, the distress signal, and I got an achievement. I got the completionist achievement, which is complete most of the game. So there you go. It surprised me, and I thought it was funny because it's literally called completionist. It's not something that I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be a completionist, as I've explained before. I'm not trying to finish the game by doing 100% of the stuff. I'm just trying to get as close as I can. So, you know, going through and getting as much stuff done as possible. So we've apparently done that. We've now completed the majority of the game. We've gotten the completionist achievement, which is nice. I think if I could get through Mass Effect 1 getting all of the Legendary Edition achievements, if I do that, then I am going to actually attempt to get all of the Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 achievements as well. I'm going to try to 100% clean out the achievements for Legendary Edition. Now, granted, the Legendary Edition achievements are different than what they were for the normal stuff. There are some that are, you know, pretty similar or, you know, completely similar, but for the most part, the achievements are far easier to get, I would say, at a 100% completion. So we'll see about that. Maybe I will end up being a completionist as far as achievements go. We shall see. I don't know if I can actually bring up the origin overlay. Otherwise, I would show you guys what I've done and what left there is. But then again, also not a great idea, as it turns out. Just don't go looking through achievements. That's my biggest warning about narrative games. Don't go looking through achievements. It's a bad idea. You're just gonna spoil the game for yourself, and that's not fun. Because you're eventually gonna find an achievement that spoils some kind of narrative thread that you were unaware of, and then just kind of ruins it. It always happens with achievements. Mostly, always happens. Just don't bother. Right. I need to get up over here, and I think I learned when I was recording before, but apparently not recording. That's a terrible idea to try to go the other way. I got super stuck, but we're gonna go this way and see if going around works a little bit better. So yeah, let's kind of go back to something I talked about, which was the husks and the ship that I was on, which had a really cool, like, this planet is gorgeous. It had a really cool, like, filter, or not filter, like particles in the air and stuff. And it made the ship feel a little bit more real. And the result of that is it made it feel really creepy and claustrophobic, because they had like this maze of boxes all set up in one of these, like, I mean, it was basically the exact same ship that we've seen like 20 times now out in the middle of space, right? You guys saw it when in the last episode before I went on to it. It was just one of those little freighters. But they had, in like the big compartment, they had a bunch of, whatchamacallits, boxes in like shipping containers. And then all around there were a bunch of husks. There was like 30 or 40 husks. And it was such a tight corridor that it was actually quite claustrophobic and creepy, because you had all these husks coming out of nowhere, just attacking you and your crew. And Liara, who I was using, almost went down, and Caden almost went down. I had to heal them in order to keep them alive at one point. It was spooky, and it brings up a good point, because we've kind of talked a little bit about the spookiness of that before, about the husks and just the general creepiness of how they set those up, and how Mass Effect 2 and 3 definitely hit on some creepy levels. But the reason why I want to talk about that is because I think it's actually really important to have that in Mass Effect. So, for one, the legacy of this type of sci-fi resides in System Shock. Now, System Shock was, by all means, a creepy game, and it took a lot of inspiration on Mass Effect from System Shock. There's no doubt about that at all. So, that's... Oh, maybe I should have just gone that way. I don't know. I'm not really finding any better way to go about this. It's actually kind of annoying. As long as I don't fall into here, I should be fine. But it looks like I may, because, like, how am I going to get across all this? I'm not sure. So, yeah, System Shock definitely set the bar for, sci-fi creepiness in video games, in my opinion. And then, obviously, Mass Effect has taken some cues from that. Like the husks, I think, are definitely inspired by System Shock in some ways. And just gameplay-wise, there's some things that are very clearly inspired by System Shock. And that's not a bad thing. System Shock was a great title, and, deserves all of the recognition it gets for... Am I going to get myself stuck here? For inspiring different things about games, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, when Mass Effect came out, there was another big game around at that time that was making the rounds, or rather, that was starting to really become a big deal, and that is, Dead Space. And now Dead Space obviously has quite the legacy now. It didn't necessarily. I would say Dead Space grew over time. It became more of of a classic over time. Initially, it was popular, but it was not like it was. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this stupid thing. I got stuck in a place like this earlier when I recorded, and of those 25 minutes, 10 of them had to be me trying to get out of a hole. So, yeah, Dead Space is definitely a pretty big call on that one, and a game that definitely influences some of the creepiness in Mass Effect for sure. Again, Dead Space is also an EA game, and Mass Effect, or BioWare's main publisher is EA, so you've got some crossover, some germination going on there of franchises, and I think Mass Effect needs it. Now, here's my argument for why. A game that is attempting to be, or to tell a very well told narrative story. You know, this is a narratively driven game. Can I get out of this? There we go. Get that stupid probe. No, oh, no, crap. Anyways, a game that's trying to be this narrative. Oh yeah, there's like weird space cows. They're bipedal, or sorry, quadrupedal, and then they have like T-Rex arms, and they're kind of funny. Although scanning them does nothing. All right, I couldn't scan them or do anything about it. If you're trying to tell a well-done story, you kind of need to hit on a bunch of different emotional levels. And in my opinion, and I've mentioned this before, but I think that all games that want to be a good game need to, because it is an interactive media, need to make you feel. What, you might say? I don't know. They just need to make you feel something, some kind of emotion, whether it be excitement or anger or happiness or joy or love. You know, you need to be able to experience at least one emotion while playing a video game. You know, a power fantasy where you're running around just shooting a bunch of stuff is an emotion. That's a very specific kind of emotion that you're presenting the player with, right? And I think a well-made game, because it is an interactive medium, is going to make you feel something. Okay? That's my premise here. And the reason I bring this up is because fear is one of those emotions. And because of the legacy of some of the sci-fi, oh, that's creepy, sci-fi going on here, and because of them trying to, you know, tell a narrative story, Thorian creepers, these guys, they're like non-glowy husks. Now we're just like destroying these things. Oh man, I love the shotgun. I love it so much. I think that, you know, Mass Effect is required to have, in my opinion, a scary moment here and there. So like on that ship that I was on that you guys totally missed out on, it was spooky and it needs stuff like that. Or doing like the Thorian, which is a good example, it needs some spookiness. Or doing some of the missions with the husks and the Reaper stuff. It's important to have that kind of scariness, in my opinion. Now, for me, I think Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 all do have their moments of creepiness. Some of them more than others. I think Mass Effect 3 definitely takes the cake on that one for me. There's a whole, and I'm not going to spoil what it is, but there's a whole enemy type in the third game that is just creepy. In fact, it is so creepy that they basically wholesale ripped it off for Dragon Age Inquisition, which are the you know what, I'm not going to explain it. If you know what it is, you know what it is. I'm not going to try to spoil that kind of stuff. And it's really creepy, and they have a whole mission in Mass Effect 3 that revolves around these things, and not fun. Mass Effect 2 has its own creepiness, as we'll see when we get there, which is not going to be far off from now. And then Mass Effect 1 has its little creepy moments. I think that's important to have fear, because the fear sets up another emotion that you're going to feel, alongside love and romance and anger and excitement and joy and stuff like that. It's important to me.
Rescuers? Oh, thank God. See? I told you somebody would come to investigate that signal. My name is Dr. Ross, Chief ExoGeni researcher at this facility. We've been trapped in this room for days. We're almost out of food and water. You got here just in time.
I need to know what's going on. Why is this place crawling with Thorian creepers?
How do you know about the Thorian?
I know what ExoGeni was up to. I saw what they let the Thorian do to those colonists, so I destroyed it.
Our secret's out then. No point in my lying. You already know the worst. The creepers here were created using altered samples from the specimens on Pharos. We discovered a way to turn them into docile, obedient servants. Everything was going fine until a few days ago. Then all the creepers suddenly went berserk. Only a handful of us made it back into the safety of this room.
Why didn't you send a clear message asking for help? All we had was that signal from the emergency beacon.
This is a closed communications base. ExoGeni was worried about someone on the project selling secrets to a rival firm or reporting our work to the authorities. We have no direct communication with the outside, only the emergency beacon. It sends a general distress signal to the ExoGeni site on Pharos. They're supposed to send a team to respond inside of 24 hours, but it sounds like they had problems of their own.
Any idea why they turned on you?
Maybe there was still some kind of link between the creepers and the Thorian back on Pharos. The Thorian was unlike any other life form we've ever studied. I can't explain how, but maybe when it died, it somehow set off the creepers here.
I've heard all I need to.
Look, I know what we did here was wrong. I'll admit that. But it's over now. There's no sense reporting this to the authorities, right?
I could get some renegade points here, but I'm gonna do, because somebody has to pay. And now you don't know this, but when I got here, I had just gotten here when I realized that my thing wasn't recording. Somebody has to pay. You just literally murder them all, and that's not what my character would do. I think unfortunately I'm gonna have to go kind of the more Paragon route for this mission, because thematically with my character, that's what she would choose.
You were in charge of this project. The safety of the staff was your responsibility. They trusted you, and you betrayed that trust.
Be reasonable. I didn't mean for this to happen. Besides, how does it help anyone if I end up in jail? Normally ExoGeni would have my back, but it sounds like they're going to have their hands full cleaning up the mess on Pharos. But I've got money. A nice little emergency fund I set up. It's yours if you let us go.
Can't do that.
The victims here deserve justice. I have to take you in.
That's not going to happen.
All right, fine. It looks like you have to kill them either way.
Fire!
Wow, how brutal is that? She's like, hey, we're going to fight you back. And like destroy them. ExoGeni's second-rate mercs proved no match for a trained Alliance Marine. With the last of the science crew dead, there's no reason to linger here. Oh, thanks. I appreciate the game being like, just go home. Why are you even here? And I didn't even really get anything from it. That's fine, I guess. You know what? I'm happy of getting this one done, this mission done and out of the way. It does remind me that, you know, as I got here and did it, I got the completionist achievement. Now, I don't know what percentage that triggers on. Obviously not 90%, because I don't think I've cleared 90% of the game. I got a bunch of these side missions still that I'm slowly clearing up as we go.
Heading
so,
out.
I hit the wrong button. So I'm curious how much that, like, it says the majority of the game. I wonder actually how much that is. Can I get that? Oh, I can get the, hopefully this actually shows. Let's see, achievements. And I really hope this is actually showing on the video. I have no idea if it will. Let's go to, oh goodness, where are we at? Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm not going to spoil it with the achievements. I'm just kind of curious which one it was that we got. So can I view details? No, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, that's fine. Whatever. I don't think I'm going to, I don't want to go looking through the achievements and suddenly spoil something. So fortunately, I'll leave that how it is. But what I was going to do is go look and see the wording on that achievement. I'm pretty sure it just says most of the game. All right, I already did that. Look, this is all we have left here. We're actually, you know, doing
Message
pretty well.
coming in from the brass at Arcturus. Patching it through.
Normandy? Admiral Hackett here. We're getting reports of a marked increase in Geth activity in the Skillian Verge. Surveillance drones have identified Geth outposts on 4 different planets in the Armstrong cluster. We need someone to take them out.
We have any idea what they're after?
Hard to say. They may be just gathering intel on us. Or maybe they're setting up staging grounds for hit-and-run attacks on human colonies.
It could be the first wave of an invasion.
Let's hope not. We need someone to investigate this, Shepard. Finding Saren is still your top priority, but you've got experience fighting the Geth. You're the logical choice to take out these outposts. We're transmitting all the locations of known Geth outposts in the Armstrong cluster to the Normandy now. Admiral Hackett out.
All right, that's fine. I guess we'll just start here and kind of work our way up to the little L. Hope that works. The panhandle. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm actually kind of happy with us getting that completionist achievement because it tells me that we're pretty close. Unless it's not actually accounting for that much percentile of all the stuff we're doing. It could very well be like, each of these is granting me, I don't know, 2% of the game completed. Actually, it's probably not far off from that number. But if it was like 15% of the game completed for each one, then, doing a handful of these is obviously going to get you closer and closer to that achievement. But I think if I had just gone and done like a main mission, maybe it would have been a little different. Maybe I would have hit a spot where, completing the next mission would have got me the completionist achievement. Who knows? I don't know what percentage of these are actually contributing to that achievement or not. Although I do kind of wish that I did know. Again, Joker dropping me in the wrong direction. Let's hit up the debris and then we'll just work our way up. Because topographically, whatever it is, this is the lowest spot. This is kind of medium and then it goes low again. And then we go high up this way and then kind of medium over here. So let's go this way. This is not as pretty of a planet. I'll tell you what. Kind of reminds me of Dune. You know what? I am so excited for that movie. It was sooner than that. Around October, like August, October last year, they had released like one of the main, or the main trailer for the movie, and it looked awesome. It's got like Jason Momoa in it and Oscar Isaac and a bunch of other things, a bunch of other big actors. But I got really excited because I've read the book way back in the day, like late junior high. I know that's crazy as a like 7th, 8th grader reading Dune, but it was one of those things that I wasn't ever really into reading, and I wanted to kind of prove, because I don't know if they still do it, but like in junior high, back when I was in junior high, which was like, goodness, like really early 2000s, like literally like 2000, 1 and 2. I like, we had these like reading competitions in our school where it's like, yeah, you got to read this many books and then you get a prize or whatever. And man, there were people who really loved reading, and I've never been a huge reader. I've never been a person who just churns through books or anything like that. Unlike my wife. My wife is a big reader. But maybe that's because I just play a lot of games. I always have. Could be. I always got my narrative fixed from games and movies. Not really so much from reading, although I have always been a very strong writer, and I've studied writing before because it's interesting to me. It's kind of ironic that I wouldn't be that big into reading. But my point is, I had read the book in junior high, and I was kind of thinking back, and I was watching the trailer, and I was like, yeah. I'm recognizing who some of these characters are. I'm getting really excited because remembering who they are. And then I realized, you know what? I want to read Dune again. So I went to Barnes and Noble, in the middle of a pandemic, picked up Dune, and they had like a new soft cover book for it. It had like the really cool art on it. It's like, hey, about to be a major motion picture. again. I say again because they had a movie back in like the 80s or 70s. I think it was the 80s. That was just weird. It was just weird. Now, Dune in itself has some weird stuff going on. I get it, but you know what I mean. That movie, if you've ever seen that movie, let me know. The old Dune is such a weird thing. But I wanted to, read it. And so I picked it up and I would say through the first half of the book. If you've ever read Dune, you know approximately where I stopped. After everything has gone down and you're with the main character and, they're out on the planet and trying to figure out what to do next. That's kind of where I ended, which is, essentially the first half of the book, literally and metaphorically, because it is basically halfway through the book. So I got to that point and now I've kind of been intermittently reading through it because I think the first half is the best part of the book. And look, more husks. Yeah, and this planet definitely reminds me of Dune. Now, if you've never read Dune or anything, I actually do recommend it before seeing the movie because there's so much more going on in that story than can be encapsulated in a movie. And I trust the director from what I've seen with the trailer, Denis Villeneuve. I don't remember his last name. The guy who did Blade Runner 2049, a bunch of the what was the other movie? It doesn't matter. Anyways, I trust his vision on it. It seems to be a pretty faithful adaptation of the book so far. We'll see how that ends up going. But I do recommend reading the book first because then you get the I'm trying to say this without spoiling the book. I know the book's been around a long time. It's kind of beyond spoiling at this point. But I think a lot of new people are coming into the Dune franchise with the movie coming up, and will get into Dune after the movie is released because it is really cool. And I don't want to spoil that for you guys who will eventually be interested in it. It's not quite the same sci-fi that you might imagine like from Mass Effect, but it is still really, really cool. But in the book, it doesn't really, it doesn't give you necessarily a direct idea of what is going to happen. It just sets it up as in it hangs a lantern on what might happen. And, it switches between a few different perspectives of characters. And those characters are allowing you to get a good idea of, the motivations behind them and, what they believe and their thoughts and stuff and how the world works for different classes of citizens. That's a big thing in Dune. Essentially, the planet itself is a giant desert. And the citizens of Dune, they are adept at retaining moisture. They actually have these suits that they have on that recycles moisture, and when they're put on really well, they have like a really high efficiency. So it like takes the sweat and just any kind of water that your body is getting rid of. It recycles it, and it's actually kind of a cool concept. But you then have all of these people coming in from a different planet that doesn't have this issue, doesn't have this water conservation in mind because it's a giant desert planet. And the result is that it's like the area...
3 more of these outposts left to clear out? This should be fun.
Yeah. Gonna set my marker. The area that the main character is in, like the main town, the main city on Dune, one of the main cities. Essentially they are on the planet because the guy who had control over the planet before was told that he needed to essentially hand it over to House Atreides, which is the what the main character is from. You have these different houses in the galaxy that kind of control a bunch of stuff. And this one guy had to, the Harkonnens, the House Harkonnen had to hand it over to the Atreides, right? Kind of giving you a cool little Dune rundown here. But at like the main city, they had so much opulence that to kind of show it off, they had a fountain. They had a freaking fountain on a planet that, and here's the other thing. They had these trees that require so much water to keep alive on a normal situation. But then, of course, on this planet require quite a bit. So it's kind of the guy from House Harkonnen flexing on the inhabitants of Dune. And that's what I mean by there are different classes of citizen. And Dune does a really good job of that kind of stuff. It's really fascinating. I highly suggest going and reading Dune if you haven't, before seeing the movie. Because again, these characters, they have, in the book, really good motivations. You get a good grasp of what's going on, and them alluding to what's going to happen. And then when the thing happens, you're like, oh, like it's all happening, and it gets really exciting. I'm not going to spoil Dune for you, but I don't see how the movie can do that. It can't, in my opinion, set the tension up the same way. I mean, maybe the director and the actors are going to be good at doing that. Which one was that? Antibar. Okay. But I don't anticipate that they will be able to kind of make the same delivery of, hey, here's this tension mounting throughout the book, and then finally you get to this big pivotal moment and everything just kind of happens and you're like, oh my goodness, like I understand what is happening here, because not that it was explained to me, but because I've seen the different perspectives of all these characters and how it's working together. Let's go Caden on this one. So yeah, definitely read the book before watching the new movie, but the new movie is out in like a couple months from when I'm recording this episode, and I'm really looking forward to it. I unfortunately don't think they're going to make another one based on the comments of the director and some of the actors. COVID really screwed everything up, I'll tell you what. It made it so this movie that was supposed to be a huge blockbuster and would have been a huge blockbuster and gotten a bunch of money for the producers, which would have then been able to fuel the other movies, because, I think this book is only going to really cover a portion of this movie is only going to cover a portion of the first, oh my goodness, the Thresher Maw, of the first book. I don't see how it could cover anything more than just a portion of the first book. Just based on how the book is written and how much there is to it. They couldn't get through it all in one movie. So yeah, I think it'd be really cool if they did make other movies, but based on it releasing on HBO Max and theaters, maybe it's got a chance, but I don't know. The film industry has definitely changed due to the pandemic, and yeah, it's not ideal. Oh no, don't hit me. Remember the last time he did that? I almost died. Bad. Shoot him in the face. All right, I think we got him. Yeah. It's funny is I vaguely remember the Thresher Maws before in the first Mass Effect, but nothing like this. I feel like this is extensive. Wreckage. Discovery. The vehicle and the human corpses show the telltale signs of Geth weapon fire. The Geth have been mangled by the Thresher Maw. At least they got what was coming to them. So essentially there was a battle between the Geth and the humans. And then the Thresher Maw showed up and was like, hey guys, can I crash this party? It's kind of cool. I can dig it. What's over here? Is it another orb? Ooh, am I going to get to read another giant wall of text? Cover artifact. Ooh. Okay. Prothean data disc. Yeah, Thresher Maws, many victims. Must have been dropped by, yeah, okay, I see. My goodness, that was a lot of money. Did I level? You know what? We're gonna check real quick. I have. I still want my points for that stuff. So, renegade points though, getting pretty high. Getting pretty high. I still have a lot of opportunities to get as much renegade as I can. We have to go up to this debris. So we'll do that. I'm not sure how long this episode is going to end up turning out because I recorded for 25 minutes without actually recording for 25 minutes. So we'll have to see. It's kind of unfortunate. I mean, heck, I could probably spend a whole 2-hour episode talking about Dune, but I'm not gonna do that. If you have ever read Dune or seen the original movie, let me know in the comments because I'm really curious. Actually, you know, I might end up putting a poll up this week about who has actually read and seen Dune, the original film, because I'm really curious what the interest level is there. There is, by the way, one of my favorite board games, which is the Dune board game. Highly strategic. It is an incredible game because it, in a way that I've never seen in many other board games, marries its theme with its gameplay mechanics perfectly. Where, like, you know, you get to play as the different houses. You get to play as the Emperor or House Harkonnen or House Atreides or even the crap, I forgot their names just now. The crazy kind of psychic, not psychic ladies. Crap, I just forgot their name. Anyways, there's a bunch of different factions from the book that you can play as Bene Gesserit. That's what it was. That you can play as in the game. And each of their mechanics in the board game mirrors that of which you would expect like them to be able to do. Like the Harkonnens are treacherous. They have the most treachery cards. They're kind of jerks, right? You gotta love it. The Emperor has a lot of money. Everybody pays the Emperor. The Spacing Guild, which is essentially how the people in the galaxy get around, because there is no like normal faster than light travel. These Spacing Guild ships have these special pilots of people who consume spice, which is what's found on Dune, which is why it's an important planet. It's because it's one of the only places in the galaxy to find spice, which is what's fueling the guild to allow them to, you know, go across the galaxy and stuff like that. You know, the guild has its own faction that you can play as, and you're the faction that transfers players from space down to the planet and also to other parts of the planet, which is really cool. Because if any player wants to put units on the planet, they're paying you and you're becoming more powerful. And then players have to consider like, oh crap, I'm literally making this faction more powerful that I'm fighting against.
That's number 2. Let's hit the next base.
Or like anytime you buy units to go and fight, you're paying the Emperor player. So again, you're constantly doing cool things. The Bene Gesserit, here's a good one. Here's a good example of this board game. The Bene Gesserit faction, if you're playing as them, you make because they're kind of how do I want to put this? They're kind of what the Jedi were really based on in a big way. But they have like some level of prescience. They have limited prescience, so they're able to kind of see in the future a little bit, right? Well, if you're playing as the Bene Gesserit at the beginning of the game, you make a guess because you know you're kind of psychic. You can kind of see the future. You make a guess as to which player is going to win the game and on what turn. So you say like, oh, the Harkonnens are going to win on turn 5, or the Atreides are going to win on turn 7, something like that. If you guess correctly and the Harkonnens do a win on turn 5, instead of them winning, you win. just because you made the guess. And that is such a cool theme. I'm telling you, this board game is one of my favorite board games. It's hyper complicated to get into, but if you can find the right people, and Gale Force 9, by the way, recently did a reprint of it, and it's phenomenal. The art on it is incredible. The game is just great. Here's a good one. If you want a good overview of the game, go look up the Shut Up and Sit Down review of Dune, the board game. Now, don't confuse this with Dune Imperium, which is a new board game that came out. No. The original Dune board game that is reprinted and kind of fixed up a bit for modern audiences. Because there was an old Dune board game and that has a lot of what I'm talking about, but the new one is definitely a better version of it, in my opinion. So yeah, go look up the review from them. And also go read Dune, because Dune is incredible. And there's some things that we can learn about in Mass Effect that are inspired by Dune, but we'll talk about that in the future when we get to those points. And then in a really cool fashion, if you're interested in Dune that much, go play the Dune board game. Find a group of players. You can find it on Tabletop Simulator, so you can't be using this excuse of pandemic, blah blah blah, I can't play board games, you know what I mean? Just go play it on Tabletop Sim with a bunch of nerds. Find a group of players who actually really want to get into it. So, tell them like, hey, this is not an easy board game, but if we actually take the time to play it, it's gonna be incredible. You're gonna be able to tell some amazing stories after playing it. Then if you get them that hyped for it, they'll love it. I'm telling you, they will love it, especially if they really get into it. Oh, we got an ID tag for a captain. All right, now we need to head up this way. Oh my goodness, there's just so much stuff we have to do on these planets. It's ridiculous.